Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Hershey Cubs podcast, aka The Roar, the first ever podcast for the Hershey Cubs, coming into their third season of their franchise. I'm Clay Thomas alongside Joshua Gerhardt, your hosts and broadcasters for the Cubs 2023-24 season. With us today is Hershey Cubs head coach Brennan Thompson. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing well, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Look forward to it.
Now, Coach obviously has hockey experience, all from when he was in Pee Wee hockey up until college, and now as a coach. Played at numerous junior teams as well as Calico High School. That's where he went to school. And just in the backyard of Hershey, he played for the Lebanon Valley Dutchman. Stumbling over my words there for a little bit. Played 5 years there. Was a front or a center and a wing, as well as an assistant captain for the Dutchman in his final years. And this is his second head coaching stint in his career. He first started with the Palmyra high school hockey team and now currently with the Hershey Cubs. So, Coach, how is the team looking so far as you've gotten a few weeks under the belt with all the players, a lot of new guys, only a couple coming back. I believe it's just three of them is what you told me, and from what I can see. How's everybody molding together and what's practice going like?
Yeah, it's the first. So we've been on the ice for about 2 weeks now, and the first 2 weeks, I can just say I'm very excited for the season. We have, like Clay mentioned, we only have three returners, so we rebuilt pretty much the entire roster. But in these first 2 weeks, we started implementing some team play, team systems. And we just have so much depth from the top to bottom of the lineup. There's not really any holes in the lineup, and we have smart players. They were able to adjust and adapt to systems honestly a lot quicker than we anticipated. Where we were able to move on quick through different systems and start putting it all together. And it's going very well. We have a lot of potential, and just continue to put it all together day by day and step by step, and we'll be a pretty competitive, dangerous team this season.
And I know you haven't even played your first game yet with this group of players, but looking ahead, I guess a little far, how can you take that next step with this team as a coaching staff and then yourself and specifically to take your team further into the playoffs? I mean, I know we haven't played yet, but you made the playoffs the last 2 years. How can you improve your team going forward and increase your ranking in the standings and going forward into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it all starts with getting that buy-in and building that team culture in the room and on the ice, away from the rink. Just getting the players to be one big family and there for each other, and playing for each other, doing what's best for the team. And like I said, we have a lot of depth, so we can always put a lineup on the ice that can compete. So just maintaining that, like, the energy is high right now, the vibe is high right now on the ice, in the room, away from the rink, in the gym. And we just got to maintain that throughout the season, right? We're going to hit some bumps in the road. We're going to face some adversity. Just making sure that we maintain that energy throughout the season when things might not go as planned. And if we can do that, we'll have no problem. We'll put a solid lineup on the ice every night, and one game at a time, one practice at a time, just continue to get better and improve on what we need to work on, and continue to use our strengths.
Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, so Coach Brennan, I mean, I know one of your returners is, Marc-Antoine Nadeau, one of your goalies from last season. Can you speak at all to what the goalies are looking like at the start of this season?
Yeah, so MA, he's back. He's notoriously known for being our 6'9" giant goalie.
Yeah.
But then we brought in Eric West. He's a local guy from Hummelstown, played for Lower Dolphin. We have Johnny DiClemente. He's from Staten Island, played New Jersey Rockets. And then we have Luke Shaw. We have four very competitive goaltenders, and that's the thing with our players right now. They're making our job very hard. If I had to make a lineup right now, I don't know what I would do. I don't know who would get the first game in net. I don't know who the forward lines would be. I don't know what the D pairing would be like. It's good. It's a good problem to have. They're making our job hard.
I mean, that's
as far as
though.
yeah, it's very good. But as far as goaltending, I mean, we got four goalies who can win us games. I mean, goaltending should not be a problem this year. And they get along well too, push each other. They're a good goalie tandem that we got going.
Have you had any individuals stick out to you as leaders yet this year at all? Or can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we haven't chose captains yet. We're going to do that a little later in the season as we get going and get in the swing of things. But there's been a lot of guys that have stepped up. Some younger guys. I mean, we have 10 French Canadians. We had some French Canadians step up. We have really a room full of leaders. I mean, looking at returners, I think Ben Maurer has stepped up incredibly. And we were actually talking about that today. Like he knows what it takes. He was here last year. He knows what's expected. He knows what didn't work in the past, and he's making sure that what didn't work doesn't happen again. And he's really stepped up both on and off the ice, just kind of helping the new guys out, but also being a leader and setting the tone for what's expected.
You know, you talk about off the ice. I recently just saw you guys went to Mount Gretna and Hershey Park for team bonding and team building activities. What was that like for the guys? What was that like for the guys, who don't, who've never lived in Hershey and who are not familiar with Hershey? What is it like for them to get to experience the surrounding area and the community?
Yeah, so on I believe it was Friday, we went to Gretna Glen, and that was awesome. So they have they call it their challenge course where they do team building activities, and just really harped on some valuable team building or team exercises, whether it's communication, right, adapting, facing some adversity, trust, and that was just a good way for players who maybe. Again, we've been together for 2 weeks, so most of the guys know each other pretty well, but a way for us to bond outside of the rink, start gaining some trust and really take some lessons from that experience. They translate on the ice too, into workouts, off the ice, right? That trust in your teammates, the communication, team chemistry, overcoming obstacles and adapting to problems. And then Hershey Park, that was just a fun way. I mean, they've been working hard the last 2 weeks to be like they have been putting in the work. We've had 2 days majority of the days we were on the ice. So they've been on the ice. We've been working out. They've been working hard. Just a good way to reward them for their hard work, but also to experience Hershey Park. I mean, we're right here in Hershey, so a lot of these kids are not from the area. So getting to experience Hershey Park was just a fun way for them to relax, have some fun, get to know each other. I personally wasn't there at Hershey Park, but the feedback I got was they had a blast at the park.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Clay, take it away.
Now, speaking of drills, and you guys had 2 days, you've been hard at it. As a coach now, instead of a player, what's one drill you used to absolutely hate to be a part of, but you love to coach? And you sit back and be like, man, I used to hate this, but it's fun to be in charge and make people do it.
It's actually funny because I don't like to do drills that I didn't like to do as a player because I try and put myself in a player perspective. Um, Drills that I like doing as a player, I find myself implementing in practice a lot. But I mean, there are ways like as a player, you never want to do drills that it's like a hidden bag skate, right? It's tough, it's conditioning. But there's a time and a place for that, especially early on in camp, right? We're not bagging the kids, but we got to make sure we're in shape heading into our first game, right? We don't want to get outworked. We want to be the harder working team, and to do that, you got to play 3 periods worth of hockey and not be tired. So I guess I would say like some of those drills where it's not necessarily just skating, but it's taxing, right? You're getting tired. You're winded afterwards, and doing some of those drills are obviously not fun as a player, but they're necessary for the team aspect.
And it's a long season. You don't want to put too much wear and tear on the bodies that quickly either.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to make sure guys are ready to go for the first game and not burn out early. And that's a big thing is staying healthy throughout the year.
And now, a little bit personal news for you. This past year, you become a new father. We clap it up, new father for
Thank
the
you.
coach.
Yeah.
And so from the coaching side, how has becoming a father changed how you make coach or changed how you view things and how you relate and try to talk to and communicate with your players?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it definitely adds a different element in that you didn't have before. Before you were well, I was husband and coach. Right now, I'm husband, father, and coach, and I think it definitely gives you a different perspective, right? Because you, it's hard to see when you're younger, but when you have a kid, right, you want to do things that one your child, in my case, my daughter would be proud of. I want to set the example for her and trying to get players to kind of realize like, hey, down the road, like this could be a time in your life where you tell your kids about, right? And giving them that long-term picture, being more, I don't want to say more understanding, but kind of really hammering home like those lessons that translate off the ice. I mean, hockey only lasts so long. So we want to make sure that our players are prepared for life after hockey, right? We're not only hockey coaches, but we're coaching for life aspects as well. So yeah, it definitely gives a different element in a good way. And you want to make sure that you're trying to do everything you can to push that message onto players and take pride and think further ahead. Don't always think short term. Think in the future, what could happen in the future and how to handle things, and just give a different perspective.
And, going back through your history a little bit more personal, you did attend LVC. You played hockey for 5 years there, just as a little recap. What did that bring you? What was your experience like there? And then how did that, prep you for life after college and after hockey and into coaching?
Yeah, my experience at Lebanon Valley was incredible, and I've said it before, but I can't thank Coach Don Parsons enough for giving me that opportunity. Not much was really expected of me going in, and I mean, that for me, it just fueled my fire and drove me to become better. And it was a blast. I mean, playing college hockey, it was a huge opportunity, right? And it was a great experience. A lot of ups and downs. I mean, going to nationals and then making the transition to Division III hockey and putting a very good team on the ice my 5th year there. And it teaches you a lot that go beyond the rink too. That's why I love hockey and sports in general, right? They teach you life lessons. They teach you how, especially in college, time management, right? You have a full-time hockey schedule, practice every day. You have workouts, you have 4 or 5 classes, maybe 6. So the time management aspect, the communication with your teammates, with your coaches, and just the work ethic, the drive. Like, it's easy to say, oh, I don't feel like working out today. I mean, you don't really have the option, but it's easy to just go through the motions. But it takes something inside of you to dig down and just get it done to the best of your abilities, because that's how you're going to become a better hockey player and put a better product on the ice. But that all of that translates off the ice too, right? You might not always be having a good day, but put your best foot forward and give everything you have, and that's how you get better and become successful. So it's part of why I wanted to coach, because hockey taught me so many lessons. And obviously when you're a 16 to 20-year-old, it's tough to listen to some of those lessons, but maybe one day you'll look back and be like, wow, hockey did teach me a lot, or Coach Brennan he was right about this aspect, because it shows in everyday life after hockey.
Kind of to build off on what you said, Coach. I mean, I didn't play at the NCAA D3 level like you did. I mean, I played for a little bit here at Millersville, which is ACHA D3. You're right. It's a full-time job. Being a college hockey player, a student athlete at any level is a full-time job. You got to balance work, school life, and personal life, and your athletics all at one. And it's tiring and it's rigorous. So how do you prepare your players with the experience that you have had to teach them, like, hey, this is what to expect after the Cubs? Like, how do you prepare them for college hockey life?
Yeah, and I mean, I think our players are in a pretty fortunate situation because they're kind of going through it now. A lot of the guys or some of the guys are still in school, so they have the school aspect that they have to take care of when we're not at the rink. And I mean, especially these first couple of weeks, we're on the ice twice a day, right? That takes up a lot of days doing workouts. Then they got to go home and get their schoolwork done, right? You got to find that balance to make sure everything gets done. Some guys have jobs, they got to work afterwards, right? It's finding that balance, and it requires sacrifice. You have schoolwork to get done, so do you do your schoolwork, or do you go hang out with your teammates and get behind on your schoolwork, right? So you might have to learn the hard way, but it requires that balance. And we try and structure, like, our schedule is pretty close to an NCAA schedule. We try and keep it that way as much as possible, so it kind of makes that transition for players who are going to play college hockey a little more seamless, because they're kind of used to being on the ice 6 out of 7 days a week and having other things going on outside of hockey as well.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the players doing schooling right now. What does that look like for your players who are currently in school? Is it like online, or what does that look like? Give the fans a perspective on how they're balancing this work life right now.
Yeah, so these players we do have some players that are enrolled in college courses too, so that would be all online. But then we have players who are also finishing up high school. So what that looks like, they're enrolled in a virtual school or an online school, and most of the time it's not a strict schedule, because that it's very tough with ours. We practice normally at 10:15 in the morning. So get to the rink around 8:30, maybe get a workout in before practice, maybe get to the rink earlier if you got to get a workout in before practice, get on the ice. If you didn't work out before, you might have to work out after, and then you go home and you get your schoolwork done. Right. And the schoolwork's very important because a lot of these players want to play college hockey, but if you don't have good grades and don't get your schoolwork done, that kind of takes that off the table. So schoolwork is definitely prioritized. So we have to make sure that our players are prioritizing their schoolwork and getting that done. So yeah, it's a lot. And it also teaches you some discipline too, right? You have to get that schoolwork done. You might be tired, right? But you have to get that work done before you focus on anything else.
And have you currently met any of the Billet families? And if you have, can you kind of shed light on your experience with them so far this year?
Yeah, so a lot of our billet families are returning billet families. We did add a few new ones this year, and our billet families are incredible, right? We have billets, they're not all close in proximity to each other, but they're relatively close to the rink. And most of the time, there's other players and other families that are close by in each other's billet families. But our billet families are incredible. They build, it's not just a house you're living in for the season, right? It's your family away from your family. A lot of these players from the last 2 years will come back into town and stay with their billet families. I know we had our player from England the past 2 years. He was in town this summer just to visit his billet family, all the way from England.
Wow.
Right. So they build that. It's their family away from their family, and that bond that lasts forever. I mean, I played with one of my best friends who was in my wedding. He played a season in New Jersey, and every time he's in the area, he always goes back to this day to visit his billet family. Right. So you're building a relationship with these families, and they're being kind enough to welcome players into their home and house them for a season. So it's a very special opportunity to be able to billet and to be able to host a billet as well.
Absolutely. Clay, take it away.
Now sticking with more of the Cubs and what it's like and how you've met. Obviously, you've met Bruce Boudreau being here now into your third season, but what's it like working for Bruce and Crystal Boudreau?
Yeah, it's incredible. And that's funny you say that. Right before we started this podcast, we were about to start, and my phone rang with Bruce Boudreau's name on it. And each time that happens, it's just like, it's a wow moment because it's Bruce. But overall, the whole Boudreau family, Bruce, Crystal, Brady, everyone involved, they're first class, and they do this right. And we were talking to some of our players. We started our one-on-one meetings, and players that came from other organizations were harping on that players don't understand how well we have it in this organization because they treat it like a professional organization, right? And that's the way it should be treated. Like, they do things right. The kids are almost spoiled to an extent, which is good because it's giving them that positive junior hockey experience, and they want to be here, right? They're treated right. We have top-notch athletic trainers, team doctors. We bust to every game. We have tape, laces, skate sharpening, a bunch of apparel, equipment. It's the whole 9 yards. They do it right, and it's so awesome having someone like Bruce in our corner. I mean, he lets Brady and I do our thing. He's not always telling us what to do, but he's always open. If we go to him with questions, he will answer them. He will give us feedback. And he always says, "Now, I don't want to control it. You can do it your way." But if Bruce is giving us an idea, most of the time we should probably take his idea, or at least part of it, it's really cool to have him. And he's a very down to earth guy and very open. If we have questions, he's always there to answer them and help us out in any way he can. And having him around with the players is incredible as well. I mean, how cool would it be? Like today he was at practice, players get off the ice and
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to pick his brain from time to time. And I can speak for myself as well as Josh and anybody else who's been working under the Cubs organization. Nothing but great things and great treatment from the two of them. They've both been great. Crystal's always helping us, whether it comes to setup, making sure we have the right equipment, making sure we're prepared. Meanwhile, she's running all over the old barn, getting everything else set up at the same time and running merchandise tickets and whatnot. They really do an amazing job, and Bruce always trying to, pop in here and there is always a great thing for the boys. And I mean, today I can't even imagine what it's like to be a player and you just walk up and off the ice and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's an NHL head coach right there, let alone he's the owner of the team that I work for or play for.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. And like you said, Crystal's the boss of the operation, right? She's the one who handles everything and gets there. If something needs done, Crystal gets it done. And she's always like you said, running around the rink, setting stuff up, getting merchandise, whether it's or flow hockey set up, any of that stuff. But not to mention, like, they're not always like, she does some of this from the road too. Like, I just got off the phone, they're going out to Vegas. She's still going to be helping us out while they're on the trip, right? They want to do everything they can for this organization and for the players and everybody involved, and that's what they do. And like I said, you need something done, Crystal will get it done. She's very hard worker and keeps things rolling.
Kind of to build off that real quick. I remember when I had the opportunity to broadcast for you guys for the winter, and he was at one of those games, and I remember he actually came down to talk to your players in the locker room during the intermission. So what does that mean to you as a coach, and what does that mean to your players to have the Bruce Boudreau come down to you guys and talk to you guys to motivate you and your players during the intermission when the game might not be going your way?
Yeah, I mean, not even for the players, but for the coaching staff as well, right? You have an NHL head coach watching the game from the stands. One, that's a different perspective, regardless, right. NHL coach or not. You see things that maybe you can't see from bench level. But then to add on that it's an NHL head coach seeing this, he can pick this game apart, right? He's been doing it for a long time at the highest level. So he can give us some feedback, maybe some changes or adjustments we need to make, or give us feedback on what's working or what did work and continue doing. But then to go in the locker room, right? It's like intermission, like having an NHL head coach come in and give you feedback. Exactly. You're gonna listen, right? And it's an opportunity that a lot of people don't have, right? We have the privilege of having Bruce come in the locker room at intermission. And I will say, just Bruce being Bruce and the down-to-earth guy he is, he always asks permission to go in the locker room. And
wow,
just go in every time. Like, we want you, like the players want to hear you. Like, we're taking in what you're saying too. He always asks permission. It shows what a first-class guy he is, and the whole Boudreau family.
Yeah, I mean, me and Clay, I mean, we can't speak highly of them enough. I mean, we had a podcast with them just recently and it went stellar. I mean, they welcomed me into their home to be able to, shoot the podcast with them. Great family, great hockey family as well. Clay, take it away.
Yeah, week 2, episode 2, I should say. Yeah. That will be the Boudreaux episode. You'll notice my hair is long in that one. Not now. That has changed. Yes, we did record this one after theirs. It's just how it works, but it's how we also schedule these releases. Now, Coach, going into the year, what's a little message or some final thoughts that you could give to the fans and family and parents at home that are watching and trusting you and everybody else with their kids?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say is thank you, right, for allowing your players to come to Hershey and sending them away. A lot of these kids, like I said, are coming far away from home, as far as Poland, Israel, Quebec, right, all over the place. So having trust in myself and the Cubs organization to send your players off to play hockey means a lot. So thank you for that. But as far as the season, I mean, like I said, I'm excited. We have a very strong team from top to bottom. We are going to be very competitive and put a good team on the ice, and it's going to be fun to watch. And we couldn't do it without, without the support of our Billet families, the fans, everybody, right? You guys are help keep us going game after game, right? Showing up, giving us support. It means a lot. I mean, nobody likes to play in front of an empty arena, and we get a lot of fans at our games, and it's awesome, right? It's a lot more fun to play in front of energized fans that give us the support. So it's going to be a good year, and we thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing you guys out there, and we look forward to putting a good show on the ice for you.
Now, one last thing here before you go, Coach Thompson. If you had to identify 3 goals for yourself this year as a coach, different from last year, what would they be and why?
I think one would be to advance more players, whether that would be to the college ranks, or tier 2 juniors, or Canadian juniors, wherever it may be. We have a lot of Canadians, as I mentioned. 2, I think it's more of a team goal, but it falls on my shoulders. I want to win our division, and I want to get to that national tournament, right? I've watched it from my couch the last 2 years, and I want to be there this year. And 3 is just seeing, I want this team to create memories that'll last a lifetime, right? I want this to be the season that they talk about in their future. So I'd say those are main 3. But as far as team-wise, I want to get to that national tournament. I don't want to watch it from my living room again, from sitting on my couch. I want to be coaching it, and we have a thing as a team. It's the championship game as of now, unless it changes, is March 26th. We all know that date, right? we want to be playing on March 26th. That's a national championship.
Let's punch our ticket, boys. Let's punch our ticket.
That's right.
Want to be playing for championships at the end of the season. With that, thank you, Coach Thompson, for joining us on the first edition of The Roar. I'm Clay Thomas, along with Joshua Gerhardt. Find us on YouTube, as well as at Hershey Cubs on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, or Hershey Cubs on Facebook. Hit that like button, subscribe, and or follow us on all accounts. With that, I'm signing off. We will see you for the second episode with the Boudreaux coming up next, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, fellas. Go Cubs.